So whatever you feel like, whatever your understanding is, you can keep typing there in the chat box. I can see, I'll be trying my very best to read it and answer it. You can also unmute yourself and you can ask question if you have. So first slide talks about the mistakes, from your understanding. So what you understand mistake is, well, two kinds of mistakes that a counselor make to begin with. First, there are two types of mistakes actually. First, we call it honest mistake. So what are honest mistakes? All mistakes that you make by mistake. What it means that you just have no idea about it. You made it because you didn't know it. You just made it. Second is known as it's known mistakes, mistakes that you make with risks. So you must have known a lot of people, a lot of counselors make mistakes like, somebody very rightly mentioned unethical issues. And I must say in the webinar today that a lot of people, despite not having psychology background, call themselves a counseling psychologist, not a good practice at all. Of course, there are other areas that I can talk about, even if you have non-psychology background, how you can be one of those helping professionals. Truth is, most of us are born to help, right? We all want to help. Why? Because we ourselves have gone through those things. Somebody has said a beautiful line that I want to help, not because I have a lot to help, but I know the feeling of not being helped. And I'm sure a lot of people can, connect with it. All right. A lot of people can connect with it that not necessarily they help because they are great. They help because maybe they have gone through the same pain. So this is one of the biggest problem in India. People with the relevant degrees may not have the right skills, and people with the right skills, finest counseling skills, do not have the relevant degrees. But don't worry, there is always a way out. People who do not have psychology background and they think that their skills are sharp for counseling, they have all the right professionals helping skills, they can be, coaches, they can be they can be, coaching, they can get into a coaching and guidance, right? They can help people on emotional level. And people with the right psychology degree, they can start helping people on mental level. So people with non-psychology, they can help people with challenges, and people with psychology, they can help people with disorders. This way, these unethical issues will be sorted out. So just in case you want to know more about this later on after the webinar, you can contact and we can tell you more about this. All right. Are you saying, can we get a PDF? No, I'm sorry. You won't get the PDF, but you can certainly take a note if you want, right? Let's get started. So I hope all of you have got it right. So if you got it right, that there are two types of mistakes, honest mistakes and known mistake. If you got all of these right, could you just type in the chat box as yes? I will get the affirmation and confirmation. The most of you have got it right. Just type in the chat box, yes, right? You got it right. Okay, okay. Amazing, amazing. Thank you so very much. That's the beauty of communicating, without even communicating too much, we can make it very, very interactive. Okay, let's see. Now we are getting into first one. And either you're planning to be a counselor or you're already a counselor, I promise you, these are the 5 top mistakes, most found mistakes the counselors make. First one is being supportless. Now you must be wondering, really, how come? The key job of a counselor is to support, that's right. But do you realize that your degree alone doesn't do things? You have to do the things. I'm sorry to say, but this is really, really happening everywhere in the world, especially in India. The people with the highest degree, they think that since I have this credibility, people will come to me, and of course, people will come to you. But the question is, will they stay with you? You can certainly bring them because you are the authority, and they will come to you. But if you fail to keep them, there is a good chance they will start looking for options. And the day someone with the right degree, relevant degree, with the right skills comes in the market, your time is gone. It's very important. Always understand counseling is a service. Okay, counseling is not credential, theory or throwing your authority or credential on someone. It's a service, pure service. This is very, very important. Let's understand how counselors make one of the biggest mistakes as not being supportive, being supportless. And if you start relating it, please keep typing, right? So if you start relating after we are done with this topic, start typing in the chat box, supportless, supportless, supportless. I would know. So, a lot of counselors to begin with, and I can tell you from my 10 years of experience, is they use these sentences. They have just no idea how much these sentences demoralize people, take all their confidence that they have. Do you realize people who come to you for counseling, they're absolutely done with everyone in the world? You're the only hope. Think about it. You're lying in the operation theater, and the doctor says, well, all I can do is try. How would you feel? You'll say, you better not, let me go. So do not use sentences like, all I can do is try, because the moment you say, so one of your key jobs of a counselor is confidence building, right? And this is one of the mistakes that they do, be supportless. So the sentences they use is, all I can do is try. Sentences they use it all depends on you. Think about it. If counseling was so much, so good, helping themselves, probably they wouldn't look for help. The moment counseling comes, you start saying that it all depends on you. And they're like, okay, if it all depends on me, there's a good chance that I can't help myself. Sentences they use like, let's see what happens. Sentences they use like, I'm just a medium, nothing else. So when you use these sentences, it might make you feel that you're being honest, but truth is, you're not helping. Because you understand, a counseling is not a session job. It will take quite some time. And if the first session happens like this, where you use these sentences, well, you're killing them before they are died. So it's very important that you do not, and absolutely not, use these sentences, because this will make them even feel of insecurity. Then we say that my job is to suggest the right things, right? Well, you're not an advisor. This is one of the mistakes that people make. They believe the counselors are advisor. You're not an advisor. Your job is not to give advice. So what is the biggest difference between being an advisor and being a counselor? The difference is very simple. When you offer an advice to someone, what do you try to do? You try to get the job done, so that one day you can say, I told you, you did not listen, or I gave my best advice. Now, your job is help. So if you do not have right intent, I promise you, you will no longer be able to stay in the counseling industry, even if you start good. This generally happens. So it's very, very important that you understand that one of the biggest mistakes the counselors make is being supportless. Do not be supportless. Do not use the sentences like, all I can do is try. Do not use the sentences like, it all depends on you. They are absolutely supportless. Do not use the sentences like, let's see what happens, or I'm just a medium, nothing else. No, you are everything for them. So even if you feel that it makes you sound honest, truth is, you're not helping, because they totally depend on you. So that's one of the mistakes the counselor makes. Let's see what else we have. If you got it right, we have a question like, counselor always right to help to others, to suggest, am I right? Yeah, counselors always right to help others. Absolutely, this is what the counselor's job is all about. Their job is to help. Their job is not to give advice. Because advice, who gives? Your people, your family, they are the people who give you advice. Why? Because they somehow, and the truth is, they somehow want to get rid of it. Counselor's job is not to give advice. Counselor's job is to be there for you, to stand by you, to make sure they help you, not to offer you advice, right? Okay, so if you believe that you understand this, you can just write and type supportless. Just type supportless here, as many as you can, so that I understand that you got it right. And anyone has any question on this slide, feel free to ask. You can type in the chat box, and I can just get it that you got this right. Thank you. Amazing, amazing. I'm really happy to see that a lot of people are got this right. So either you're aspiring or inspiring counselor, this is one thing you should never do. Never do at all. And this is one thing, the reason why we are doing this, the webinar, because so that now we can give you skills. Always remember, this is information age. You do not have to pay anyone for information. Google is there. So what do you have to pay for? Skills, insights, but not for information. Telling what CBT is, Google can tell you. Go and find out. Oh, what there is in CBT, the Google doesn't tell you and you tell, worth paying. What is the difference between information and skill? Information is, I know car runs, but I am able to run a car or drive a car, is what skill is. So you do not have to pay for information to no one. No one. Be capable, be tech savvy, be good at marketing, and do yourself. Do not pay people for information. And certificate doesn't make you a counselor, okay? Practice does. So just in case if you are going out, only for certificate that I'll get this certificate, I'll be counselor. No, practice does. Work under some counselors, work under some psychologists, and psychologists who actually pay attention to help you what you see counseling someone, right? So it's very, very important. Let's move to the another, because so first one is being supportless. Second, jumping to solutions. So you know that this is how counselors are, they believe that, they quickly want to know the problem so that they can solve. But do you realize, either from a counseling side or a counselor side, that this is one of the biggest mistakes that you make as a counselor? All of us are always intending to offer the solution. But the question is, sometimes people come you for question, not for solution. Sometimes people come to you because they don't know the problem. So they want your help as an expert to help them find the problem. How do you do that? To find the right answer, and this is the beauty of the entire webinar, and I must tell you, it's not just the content. Everything I'm talking, every time I'm saying you something, if you start taking a note, you will have a full page of new insights today. So just don't depend on whatever there is here. Start taking note, whatever you find insightful, whatever you find new. Don't just depend on the content, because this is where the actual learning happens. Somebody says that learning is happening everywhere if you're observant enough. All you need is highest observation skills. Somebody has a question, so we have to keep these points in our awareness, but should we not convey them to our client? Akash, you have this question. Which point you're talking about, Akash? If you can make that clear. Practice makes the perfect. So actually you're saying, yes, practice makes you perfect. I will give you a new insight here. Not just practice doesn't make you perfect, a perfect practice makes you perfect. For example, if I want to milk Hase and I run few kilometers, will that make me perfect? Not really. Unless I practice to that level. So a perfect practice makes you perfect, not just practice. Okay, what is the main motive of counselor? Okay, main motive of counselor. Counselor does not have a motive. That's the motive of counselor. The only motive counselor has is the motive the counselor has. Counselor wants to be cured, counselor needs to help. Counselor wants to be listened, counselor needs to help. Counselor wants to speak, counselor needs to create that space. So the main motive of a counselor is the motive that counselor has. Counselor doesn't have any personal motive. Okay, so I was saying that before you find the right answer, you have to find the right question. And to find the right question, what you have to do is you need to question the question. That's we call, we also call this root cause analysis. If you're from a corporate background, you must know this. All right, so root cause analysis. What you can do, I'm going to share you one of the tips that's generally a part of the programs. And the tips is that asking 5 whys, most of you must be aware that you need to ask 5 whys, because when you ask 5 whys, you come to the right problem, because that is something that matters to you. So when you come to the right problem, only then you can offer the right solution. Because most of the counselors make these mistakes. If I come to you as a counseling for a depression counseling, there is a good chance you start working on depression, not even knowing what is the root cause analysis. Maybe it's a relationship issue. Maybe it's addiction issue. So you have to find the right problem before finding the right answer for it. So jumping to solutions. Jumping to solution is one of the things that you have. What is next? People may not know the problem. Like I told, it's very, very possible when someone comes to you, you may not know the problem. Think about it. When you go to a doctor, most of the times you don't have the problem figured out. You just go, you say, I'm not feeling good. What does the doctor do? They ask, they question the question. It's like, what do you mean I'm not feeling good? So do you feel like eating? Did you have a proper sleep? Something happened? Is there any event that happened recently? A lot of questions. So to find the right answer, you first have to question the question, and then you find the right answer. What else you do? They don't have, but are the problem. And this is one of the biggest insight I'm going to share with you. Understand this. Sometimes when counselors come to you, they don't come to you because they have problems. They come to you because they know they are problems. Be aware. Counselors are not always unaware. Many a times they are perfectly. So 5 whys you are asking, what are those 5 whys? Simple, just why. It's like, let's say I'm saying I'm not feeling good. So you as a counselor, why? I don't know. Maybe I'm not as happy as I used to be. Like, why? Maybe I'm lonely. I don't have many friends as I used to have. Why? Maybe I stopped trusting people. Why? Maybe somebody cheated me. Why? Maybe I found the wrong person. This is how you get into 5 whys. You ask why 5 times minimum, and you get to the right problem. You can find the answer in maybe 3 whys. You would love the situation when you are in the process of finding the root cause analysis, and you find that, when you constantly won't have an answer, they're like, never thought about it. Okay, so this is what it is. Would that be a great moment of you as a counselor? So like I said, sometimes people know that they are the problems. This is their bad habit. They create the fight. This is what they do. They don't listen to people. They know that. They know that. So sometimes they don't have the problems. They are the problems. So they are not here to find the solution. They are here because they want someone else to agree with them. Okay, at least they're trying to find a way out. Plus, what is next? They may just look for someone, to agree, like I said. Sometimes people don't want to share because they cannot share. It's too big to share, or maybe something that they have to share goes against them. They just want someone who can care for them, right? So that's all. Because do not forget that today's counselors are smart. They can oversmart you. All right, so it's very, very important. So second biggest mistake is jumping to solution. If you all think this is right and you are not going to do as a sparring or a sparring counselors, right there, no jumping, just right there jumping. And I will get an insight that most of you, so okay, you mean that we should probe the question to find the RCA? Of course, very important. But always mind, question, do not interrogate. Question. That's why we use the phrase ask question. The dictionary meaning of ask is request, not to interrogate, right? We are not policemen. So ask a question in a way, so constantly, and we have a lot of techniques, maybe other day I can do a webinar on questioning techniques, right? So questioning is a great and amazing technique that you have. You'll find it everywhere. You'll find it in CBI, you'll find it FBI, everywhere. It's amazing. And there are 2 kinds of questioning we have, leading question and follow-up questions. And the great list of counseling questions that we have. We'll talk some other day. Great, amazing. Let's see. Third one is depending on robotic listening. This is what I was talking about. So it's very important that say goodbye to old counseling practices. If you are still doing, trust you me, you will no longer be able to survive in the industry. Even if you have a great clientele right now, you think that, okay, people have known me, they have been coming to me, but trust you me, somebody, the day You start disrupting the industry, oh, it'll be a problem for you. So it's very important to say goodbye to old practices, at least the practices that no longer are working or effective. So previously, 50 years from now, people used to believe that this was the most effective counseling strategies. And still a lot of people you go, they will share the same thing. Do you know why most of people share the same thing? Because they know the same thing. That's the reason most of people are the same. They're no different. Because all they know is a copy of a copy. In 50 years, ever since somebody has started something about counseling, they just know things. So they have a copy of a copy. That's why they can't be more different. You will not be doing it. You should look inside and learn from your own experience. Use your experience to do counseling, not just what you have learned. Because that way you will never be a creative counselor. You will never be a modern time counselor. So one of the mistakes is depending on robotic listening. Most of people do that. What is it? The first one is they may have nothing to say. So understand why this is a problem, why this is the biggest mistake. People believe you have come for counseling, start talking. No, maybe you have nothing to share. I have nothing to say. So when I have nothing to say, your job as a counselor is to make me say. I'm going to share something with you, very important, and this you can cherish for a lifetime, I can guarantee. The highest objective of listening, or if you think that you are a great listener, no matter what people have given a feedback to you, measure your listening skills with this parameter that I'm going to give you. Despite whatever feedback people talk about you and share about you. A great listener is the one, or you are a great listener, if someone doesn't stop talking. So if I am as a speaker, don't stop talking, you are a great listener. Whatever you do, you do a mirroring, you do selective listening, whatever you do repetition, you copy my phrase, or say the same thing, all the listening technique that you use, but the highest objective is, if the speaker doesn't stop talking, you are an amazing listener. That's the highest objective that you have. So if you really want to be a counselor, and if you really mean listening skills, please don't learn all the old techniques. Say goodbye to those. I promise you, go to Google and type right now, great listening skills. What would you do? People will talk about empathy. People will talk about pay attention. They will say everything that you are not able to do, you cannot do. Say goodbye to all those methods. If psychology can work through the idea of law of attraction and manifestation, of course it can. In fact, it does. The only thing is, science has logic. That's why you know why people believe in science? Because it has logic and facts. Logic is easy to understand and magic is hard to understand. Everything else is magic. Science has logic, and human mind cannot understand magic unless someone demystifies it. So science is logic. So if it all can be put under psychology, of course, there's a lot of psychology. There's psychology in magic, there's psychology in movie, there's psychology in product, there's psychology in design, psychology in color, psychology in advertisement, everywhere. I rather see an all-time say that psychology is everywhere. And the only place it's not, where you're not paying attention. So if you're not paying attention, there is no psychology. But if you're paying attention, everything you see and look around, you'll find there is a psychology the way the room is structured, there is a psychology the way computer is structured, there is a psychology the way everything has a rectangle shape, there is a psychology the way people choose a color combination, everywhere. And people do that. So either from a tech industry or from a corporate industry, from education industry. If psychology is not your favorite thing, you're going to miss a lot of opportunity. So great that you ask. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, then see that, they may not know where to start from. The reason why you should not be depending on robotic listening. Okay, you tell. I can tell you from my experience, 7 years ago when I was running Your Hope Line. So Your Hope Line is one of the non-profit organization I started in 2013, and I have counseled more than 10,000 people through that. Absolutely free those times. So it says that, and always remember, you may want to listen to them. They have so much to say, they don't know where to start from. They just don't know. So if you depend on the robotic listening, or you're going to be good failure as a counselor. So please do not be depending on the robotic listening. So what you should be doing, the answer is very simple. Listen when they're talking and talk when they're listening. So if my first session today, and I don't want to talk anything, I have a lot to talk, I don't know where to start, you better talk. Because you can influence people by both ways, and you know that, by listening and by talking both. Next is, the event may be too painful to talk about. This is with the counselor. They believe that just talk about it, this will be okay. No, this can be worse. This can just get worse. You don't even know if that person is ready to evocate all the emotions all over again. So it's very important, the event may be too painful to talk about. So you have to find and build those strategies that how to make people talk. And that is a topic for the another webinar someday. Then right time, right person, right place question. It's always a question there. So ensure it's possible that this may not be the right person. You may not be the right person that time because you have just started. No one starts sharing. In fact, in counseling, it is said that people will only give you 50% of information. Other 50, you have to dig it out. And that's your job as a successful counselor or a psychologist. Maybe not the right time. Maybe they're going to share everything. Do you remember something, maybe some incident in your life when you know that initially you thought that someone doesn't speak, someone is introvert, unless there's a good rapport and bonding. And then that person talks so much, it's really, really hard to stop them. That happens. So know that it may not be the right time, I may not be the right person right now, and it may not be the right place. If you have seen movie Dear Zindagi, you see that, and this is not a fancy of a movie, this is true, then in counseling practices, so, we do counseling practice programs separately. So there, it's perfectly okay to counsel people at different places, not necessarily in the packed room there, that you talk and I listen, I'm done. Because it's very, very possible that something I cannot understand here, I can feel different because place changes people. Different time changes people. Different presence of people changes people. It's very, very important that you do. Okay, now let's see. It's about underrating temporary solutions. You tell me and you understand, but I think if you have got nothing from here, just type here robotic. Just type the word robotic in the chat box, and I think I'll be good. Just type the word robotic, and I'll understand that you got it all right. Okay, great. At the same time, if you have a question, keep typing there. Keep typing it all. Good job. Thank you, Priya, Zinab, Shweta. Okay, great. Wonderful. Meghna, thank you so very much. Samiksha, yes, wonderful. All right, let's move to another one. And I think the most probably the last one is one more is underrating temporary solutions. As a counselor, you know that you always find that, there is always a big problem. Do you know, and agree if you agree with my sentence. Do you know the most of people, most of the time, mostly have temporary problems. 90% problems are temporary. Do you agree? Type agree if you agree with this. 90% problems are temporary 90% of the time. So you ask yourself, is it worth trying to find the permanent solution for temporary problems? You can do that if you are a bookworm. You can do that if you only believe in doing MPhil, PhD, and higher. You shouldn't. You got to be a smart counselor. The days are gone. So what you should be doing, find the temporary solutions. Because the problem will expire by the time solution matures. There is no use of it. So never underrate. So this is one of the mistakes counselors make. They always believe in making it huge, making it big. Don't do that. If the problem is temporary, it's temporary. So do not underrate the power of temporary solution. For example, let's say somebody has anger issues. They come to counseling to you. Well, before you try long-term solution, like what are the long-term solutions for anger? It can be, combating sport, right? You need to do this. It can be, change of your hobbies. It can be changing the place. It can be learning, something new. It can be a lot of things. Instead of personality development or changing a personality transformation, blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. Give them simple thing. Whenever you get angry, count from 1 to 10. If that works, done. You don't have to go that deep. Why? Because they will not do it. And you will fail as a counselor. See, if they don't do it and you fail as a counselor, not a good idea at all. Okay, we have question like, if a person is not able to express his or her feelings, then what is the right thing to do? Question, okay. First of all, like I said, time, place, and person. Are you the most confide person? Are you the most, are you one of those person that the counselor can trust? So person, place, and thing, 3 things to keep in mind. Is this a right time to ask a right question? If this is not the right time, okay, wait for the right time. Is this a right place? 3 things matter. And of course, there are a lot of questioning techniques, that I can cover in any other webinar sometime. A lot of questioning techniques that you can do. Say if person is not able to express, like I mentioned, possible is a very painful event. So you might want to be smart enough to ask a question. How? Telling things that might come. Say, I understand it's very, very painful to go through the same emotions over and over again and incidents. I know. And it's perfectly okay if you don't want to share. But I would always suggest to get some gut, get some heart. Whenever you think you want to share, maybe in pieces, feel free to do that. Not because I want to know, or not because you have to say it, but because the more we know the problem, the sooner we can work on it. Tell this. That's why as a counselor, you also have to be an inspiration. You also have to be a motivator sometime. All right. So yes, this is what you can do. So for temporary problems, there should be a temporary solutions only. Absolutely. Now, this is not only, there are a lot of techniques I'm giving you here. First one is how to find temporary solutions. These are the solution finding techniques that I'm offering you here. First one is easiest versus hardest available solution. Most people always try hard. You know what? If you always try for the hardest solutions, you miss out the easiest one. That's why people, have started telling these days that don't work hard, work smart, don't work hard, work smart. The question is not to promote smart work. The question is, if something can be worked with a less effort, why to put more? That's a simple question, right? It's not that people who work hard should be against it. It's also not that we are, putting down hard work. It's just that something can be done easily. Why to put all the work? Save your energy, save your attention, save your focus for something that is worth giving everything. That's the thing here. Then, so easiest versus hardest, okay? First, see what is the easiest solution available. Like I gave you the one, okay? Not the hardest. Don't go after the hardest solution. Then we have why permanent solution from temporary problem, the question that we have. Near to far and here to there. So this is a thing that you can keep in mind. Near to far. When you start solving the problem, see if that person himself can solve the problem. If somebody that person knows can solve the problem. If somebody that person knows and knows that person can solve the problem. Start from here. So first, person-centered. If the problem can be solved right here, don't go far. If it cannot be solved right here, go a little bit more. So near here is a near to far, okay? And here to there. If this can be solved here, don't go there. Solve it right here. If you and that person can solve the problem, you don't need third person. You don't need, their families, you don't need their friends, you don't need their co-workers, you don't need to do that. So that's a strategy. Start solving right from here. The nearest and the easiest. So 2 takeaways from underrating temporary solutions when it comes to solution strategy, nearest and easiest. What is the nearest solution and what is the easiest one? Because you know that people who come for counseling, are tired for many ways. They don't have that energy, enthusiasm, power, start of mind to think right, to do, they don't have all this. So your job is to offer in bites, just like Psychobite, right? Offering psychology in small, small bites. So, and then gradually, when they start becoming strong mentally, physically, emotionally, okay, go up, give them more challenge, let them get over from it. So, easiest. And it is your responsibility as a counselor, if you truly want to be one of those modern time counselors and don't expire as a counselor, don't want your counselor tag expired, then you have to keep in mind you got to be a creative counselor, a modern type counselor. Otherwise, people will come to you, but they will not stay with you for long. Okay. So this is about the underrating, temporary. So if you this is really thing, you just type underrating in the chat box, and I will have the confirmation that you got this right. And if you have any question, I'll be so happy to answer. Just type underrating in the chat box. Just type. Anyone who wants any question, please feel free to ask. Absolutely okay. We do this webinar absolutely free, so that we can actually tell you the 10 years off. So I have been in the industry for 10 years. If you had a chance to see my picture there, it was showing me 9 of me in 10 years. So what I have achieved, and I can tell you everything, I can open up that the simple formula I believed in my whole entire life is that there are 24 hours in a day, not 9 hours. If you believe the same, you're going to achieve the people can only be surprised of. So keep doing it. Thank you very much. Priya, Samiksha, Deepshika. Okay, thank you so much. Let's see. This is the last one and the best one. And like I said, Medha, the only people who stay till the end will get the certificate. That's all. The people who did not stay till the end won't get the certificate, because we really want to appreciate our hard work, and we really only want to award people who care for it, people who actually want to make a difference, not people who come for the sake of coming and go. So just please take a screenshot, and we only offer certificate to people who stay till the end. Wonderful. So last one is taking failure to ego. As a counselor, it happens. Happened to me. There was this, I was helping someone with addiction, and there was that guy. See, he had to be, he was back from rehab many a times. When I was put to counseling with him, he came and he says, he spoke in Hindi, he said, भैया, आपको सच में लगता है सब ठीक हो जाएगा? I says, yes, I do. So, do you know, iske pehle, there have been 6, 7 counselors. I fooled all of them. He literally used the word, I fooled. I said, okay. And he says, I'm very honest. I'm telling you something. I fooled all of them. Do you think you're smart enough? I said, I don't know. I'm smart enough. What I know is, that I'm better than everyone else. He says, how? I said, because you told me something that you never told anyone. So now I know that you fooled. Well, I'll try to see if I can be smarter than you. That's all. Now, what I mean to say is, sometimes it becomes, you, as a counselor, you take it on your ego. Okay. I'll take your question, Sudhanjali, just a moment. So sometimes it happens that it's very, very simple that you take it on your ego. Because as a counselor, it generally happens. It's like, how dare you? Or how come you? And people start acting. It generally happens. Counselors are human in the end, and mind it, they take more stress than anyone else. That's why a counselor needs to see a counselor. You all know that. A counselor must see a counselor over the period of time. There has to be a periodic counseling of a counselor. The counselors who don't do that, trust you me, you know what is funny with the counselor who don't do that? It will look like, watch their counseling session carefully. It will look like they need counseling. They will start sharing their own stories, what happened to them, or you will see that desperation in them, literally. I'll take this question from Sudhanjali, that the severe feelings of restlessness produced by some psychometric meditation, blah, 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 blah. Okay, it's in the patient by anxiety of the psychometric. So how to deal with this type of situation, which is often misinterpreted by patient as anxiety or recurrence of this. Okay, Oh, you have a lot of question, I think, list of question. The severe feeling of resentment produced by some psychometric medications, which is, oh, I think the same thing being copied in restlessness produced by, I think for medications and all. Yes, it's really, really possible. So you literally have to do, so as a counselor, you know that history taking is something that you do. And in history taking, that has to be one of your greatest skills. The reason why you need to take history and rightly, so you know that what medications they already have been doing, but please mind it. This is for clinical psychologists, okay? Please mind it. Most of the medications related, and if you are a counseling psychologist, as a counselor, I would always say that know your limit. Most of counselors don't, or they don't want to know their limits. Do not do that. Keep the legalities in mind. If there has been someone has been seeing a clinical psychologist, and if they come to you, ensure that they are referred. They are referred. Do not take a cases where they already have been clinically diagnosed. So if this has been the case, know their case history very, very well. If you understand, fine. If you don't understand, if you have a mentor in counseling, it's really, really great to have a mentor. So mentor, that's why we also run a certification of mentor program. So it's really nice to have a mentor so that you can consult, what do I do? Because not all problems can be solved by you alone. So don't take it. And this also comes in one of those ways. So this is about taking failure to ego, okay? Most of the counselors generally happens that they take it on their ego because of many reasons. It's possible because they have a lot of experience. It's possible because the similar kind of cases, they have the highest success rating. It's possible because they also, it's a truth, look down on counseling, look down upon counseling many times. So what is it that they do? They may be as serious as you are, right? So they may not be as serious as you are. Sorry, yeah, not is missing here. So it's possible sometimes as a counselor, you think that you are very serious about their problem. It's possible counselor is not. Very possible. So you might do everything with so seriousness, not realizing, observing as a psychologist or counselor that the person may not be that serious about the problem. Why? I will refer back to one of the slides where I say sometimes people don't have the problems, people are the problems, and they're perfectly aware. That's why I say that the counselors are changing every day. Counseling can oversmart you any day. So it's very, very possible that you have to step up. You have to have your games high. Then we say the counselor is going to do every ask. Right? It's general impression in counselor's mind that whatever I'm going to say, counselor is going to follow. No. Especially the one if you're doing grief counseling or you're doing addiction counseling. These are the counselors going to fail you successfully. How many times? I don't know. Many times. Why? Because sometimes they're just helpless. They're just helpless. Sometimes they call you. I remember somebody calling me 2 o'clock in the night. My father has shut the door. They're not opening. I've been waiting. It's December. I've been waiting for 2 hours. They're not opening the door. Can you call my father and ask to open the door? Well, as a counselor, of course, there is a reason why you become counselor, because you really want to help people. I called his father. He did the same thing tomorrow. So they will successfully fail you. So don't worry about that. We just want to get rid of, but not get cured. It's possible many times counseling will come to you. They don't want to get cured. They want to get rid of it. They want the problem, whatsoever the problem is. Either their family want them to see a counselor, or whatever the reason, they just want to get rid of, not necessarily get cured. So these are the reasons why you should not necessarily be taking the failure to your ego. You don't have to. May not even have enough confidence in counseling. Right? It's possible somebody has a bitter experience. Have you watched that movie? There was this counselor. He was saying, he said something wrong about that, the psychologist. And the psychologist said that, I think you had a wrong shrink. So it's possible, and really, really possible that sometimes when people have a bitter experience about counseling or psychology because they met a wrong set of people, despite, like I said, you might have a credential, but people can be absolutely nil. because they're so much into book, so much into technicality, they don't realize the person who is communicating is absolutely from non-medical, from non-psychological, non-cognitive background. They may not relate anything. It becomes super important. Einstein says that if you know something, explain this to your 6-year-old kid. If they understand, okay. If they don't understand, do it again. That is the highest level of simplicity you need when you do counseling. So that's become super important. The last that they have is they may just care for the result, not process. You know that this generally happens with counseling. Maybe you have put your heart and soul, and after 4 to 5 sessions, they can come and say, you know what, nothing is working. Or maybe if they have been accompanied by their parents, the parents can say, still too addicted to phone, nothing is working. Now, very, very important for you as a counselor to explain them and set the expectation how the change will happen. So change happens in 3 steps. First, change of knowledge. Does counseling know something different or new that they used to know? Second is change of attitude. Does counseling have a change of attitude? Do they see things differently than they used to see? And third is change of action. Does counseling do things differently than they used to do? Only then there will be change of results. So let's say, for example, asking a set of questions, a guide set of questions, you see that, now he knows a lot of things that he never knew. Now he sees things differently than he used to do. Now he does things differently that he used to do. And then you can show, so he changed from knowledge to attitudes to action. That is a way. Because it's not only skills that you also need representation or presentation skills. If you're not able to present your result, you fail as a counselor or psychologist. People won't believe you. So that's so very important. So it says that one of the child case, mother was 100% agree to the counselor, whereas father has objection. And there was issue amongst them, keeping the child aside. Now the counselor and child case are not adult, so how to manage? Of course, it has to go with the parents. I mean, our job is not there, and that depends, you got to be really, really convincing, persuading. So you as a counselor have to decide, and you definitely have to speak in favor of child because it really works. But you also need to see that who has how much awareness. It's very possible that one party or maybe one parent has a high awareness of it, they're really sensitive to this issue, other may not. So I think it's very simple, it's very, very simple that you need to, and you might have to speak with those parents separately. So speak with mother separately, speak with father separately, and use your convincing power, use your persuasive power if you know what is right already. Because many times as a counselor, you will have to take a lead for what is right. So it's very important for what is right. You might want to, the another thing that you can do as a smart psychologist, make things dependent. How they're going to fail one another. And of course, like you say, because of ego, it can be definitely failure of ego, but how they're going to fail one another. And in their ego clash, or maybe in their lack of awareness and whatsoever it is, third person, the most loved, someone who's loved to all, is going to be in peril. So it will require a lot of convincing skills. This is something that you can do. Great. I think, that's all I had. If you think this has gone right, if you think you learn a lot of things, type there as ego. Type there as ego, certainly. And I'm going to also disclose you something really, really good that we are going to offer. And we have recently started. And the plan is to disrupt the industry with honesty and transparency, not suggesting the wrong people for the right courses, not suggesting right people or maybe misguiding right people. So, and I would also ask you, this is not possible just because Emo Matrix is doing and I'm doing. I would also ask you, whatever platform you are at, LinkedIn, Facebook, please, anywhere you see bad practices, anywhere you see people being misled, anywhere you see not right people doing the right things, raise a voice, not publicly, definitely individually. Tell them if they really want to help people, be a hope coach, right? Learn things in coaching and guidance. tell people where they can really go to, if they are really want to get into psychology. Okay, they should start helping people on a mental level. People who may not have a right psychology degree, and they have a great skill, and it always be there. And I would always stand by for people, even with a non-psychology degree, because like I said, education is a master key. It will only get you there, but how long you will stay there is a matter of skills. What do you need? Both. But you can start with what you have. If you have the right education, start mastering the skill to a modern level. If you have that skill, ensure that you have the right, relevant degrees that you really want. So that's it is. We are also going to start, and I think tomorrow is, we have also started absolutely free program called Motivation Reload. Not necessarily for the one who is interested in psychology and counseling, for anyone at all. And the first thing we are doing is not through videos. First thing we are doing it that we are ensuring that anyone who want to be a part of that motivation reload is absolutely free. People can come and join, and they can have their live questions, whatever they want, absolutely free. In return, all we want is that please share the good words, whatever you have learned, post it on social media that you can do. And that is all. If you're more interested to know more about Emo Matrix, to learn more about Emo Matrix, you can speak with our team. And that's all for me today. Thank you so very much.